What's up guys, it's Ash and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to do a little bit of a Q&A and kind of like a first trimester versus second trimester video. So that's what I'm gonna do. A couple months ago, I actually had asked you all to ask me questions about pregnancy and pregnancy loss. And so a lot of those questions I had actually answered in a video that I had filmed, but then I ended up never editing it. And now here I am like literally 2 months later. So I thought, let me just answer those questions again. And now I have new questions as well. So yeah, let's get into it. I have my tea. I'm in my comfy clothes. So yeah. Okay, so starting off with questions about pregnancy loss. And if you guys don't know, I had 2 miscarriages before this pregnancy, and there was a lot of differences between those and this one. So a lot of these questions kind of have to do with that and how I felt. So yeah, let's get into the first question. This one says, did you ever feel fearful that you would lose this baby? And if so, what did you do to overcome that? So, of course, I felt a lot of different types of things. I felt fearful, I felt worried, I felt kind of not in control. But I think what was different with this pregnancy is that before I even knew I was pregnant, I literally got woken up out of nowhere by Holy Spirit telling me that I was pregnant. So as crazy as that sounds, it was like such a surreal moment where I was like, what? Like, no way, like that's not possible, you know? Because my husband and I, we decided to not try anymore. We decided to wait. And I was like, that's impossible. Like we did not try for this. But sure enough, I tested literally like 10 minutes after I woke up, and it was so positive, and my period wasn't even due yet. I was like 3 or 4 days away from my period. So immediately, like the first feeling that I had was worry, and that was because literally not even like a month before that, I had a miscarriage. And that one, I believe, was a missed miscarriage, which, if you know what that means, it means that basically you miscarried before you even saw your positive. So I got a positive, but I had no idea that the baby was already gone. So there's a lot of hope deferred, I guess. And so with this one, I was worried at first. I wasn't even excited like in that immediate moment. I was shocked. I was worried, and I was like, okay, God, like if you tell me that I'm pregnant, which you did, then I'm gonna believe it, and I'm just gonna try and have faith. But I worried a ton. And to be quite honest, like this pregnancy in the beginning was very difficult. I had a lot of pain, which really did not help all of the fear of losing this pregnancy. So yeah, yes, long story short, I was very fearful. But of course, being a believer and just knowing that God, you know, he purposes everything. So just knowing that, I was like, okay, whatever happens, happens. I'm gonna try and be strong, but Lord, please let this like go well. And honestly, like there wasn't anything specific that I did to overcome it. It was just, again, that like faith, but not only faith, but trust. And I think sometimes people can have faith, but they don't have trust. And so that's kind of just what I had to do. I just kept praying, kept talking to the Lord, being like, like I need help, like please help, like give me peace. Okay, the next question is, what was your body like after the loss of your baby? Now, I had a few questions about this, so I thought, okay, let me answer that. And to be honest, like if I'm just being real you guys. I think I have gained, this is pre-pregnancy, I think I gained 20 pounds just from like birth control itself. So I'll start there, because I think in order to like talk about pregnancy body, I'm gonna like talk about birth control body before that. So when my husband and I got married, I went on the pill, and we decided that we didn't want to have children for another like 2 or 3 years. So that's what we did. We did the pill, but I felt sick all the time. I'm just one of those people who like cannot handle it. And so that actually caused me to gain weight, which at first I didn't mind, because to be honest, I was really skinny. And the reason for my low weight was originally from being depressed and struggling with not only depression but anxiety as well. So, you know, getting to know my husband and then getting married and all that kind of stuff, that definitely did change. So I no longer was, I don't know, my body wasn't suffering, I guess, because I'm a person that believes that if your mental state is suffering, your body suffers. So after getting married, my body no longer suffered and it was on the mend, but being on the pill just kind of escalated the weight gain, I guess. So I gained 20 pounds. So I went from 119 pounds to like 138, 39 pounds. But I liked it. I liked my body. I was like, okay, this is nice. This is fine. And then I went off of birth control because it was literally making me so ill. And about 3 or 4 months later, I fell pregnant for the first time. And then for that pregnancy, I was only pregnant for 10 weeks. So you probably think, okay, your body doesn't change too much. But it really did. Like, my stomach changed from being this tight, skinned area in the front. It changed from being tight to being super loose. And then after I miscarried, and for months after that, I just kind of had this weird like bulge, just kind of like I was really early pregnant or bloated all the time. Honestly, I have no idea like exactly what that's from, but I believe it has to do with hormones and how that happens. So not only did, you know, my physical body changed, but also my internal stuff, how everything worked was completely different. My metabolism was shot. So anything that I ate that was just not healthy, I would definitely gain weight from. I definitely felt like I couldn't do some things that I could before in terms of like exercise. Yeah, like it, all in all, I just kind of felt a little bit like worn down. And honestly, like at this point now I'm like 5.5 months pregnant, and so from the first loss to now, like I don't think I've ever regained that strength back. And so that was pretty hard, was dealing with the body physical changes and how that made me feel, and all that kind of stuff. But what was, I guess, even worse than just feeling kind of gross all the time was the negative self-image that came after that. Because obviously when you miscarry, you kind of feel like your body is broken, because like this is what women are created to do. You know, we have a womb, we have this reproductive system that's supposed to work, and when it doesn't work, you can feel like, you know, your body's not good enough. So not only was I struggling with that feeling, but then I was struggling with looking at myself in the mirror and knowing that my whole body had changed. It just was so hard for me to wrap my head around. And mainly with the weight gain, I gained a lot in my legs. And before, I used to love my legs. I thought they were great. You know, didn't have any cellulite, didn't have any stretch marks. And now my legs are like completely ridden with stretch marks and cellulite. And so that was very difficult. But honestly, pregnancy has actually boosted my self-esteem and the way that I look at myself, because now having a healthy pregnancy, I'm like, you know what? Like my body is pretty awesome. Like I can't believe that it's gone this long, and it's just kept thriving. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Okay, I'm gonna leave this as the last question about miscarriage and pregnancy loss and that kind of stuff, and then I'm gonna go to happier questions. But this question says, did this pregnancy feel different compared to the others symptom wise? That I could go into that like so deep. If you guys want to be here forever, then yeah, that's how long this answer could be. Honestly, they were very different, and it makes sense because my first 2 pregnancies were obviously not viable pregnancies. Something was wrong that my body just had to get rid of it. And so all the symptoms that I had with that, I couldn't take that into consideration when looking for signs of new pregnancy. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, I had no idea that I was pregnant, so I didn't have these symptoms beforehand, before I got my positive. But after I knew I was pregnant, and those first couple of weeks, when your body really starts changing and you get sick and your boobs start to hurt and get bigger, like those things were things that I could actually start comparing to the last. And so firstly, I guess I would say would be morning sickness. With my first pregnancy, I had morning sickness in a way that was very sporadic and very mild. And it would be like I'd have it for like 10 minutes during the day, and that was it. Like, then I'd be fine. Second pregnancy, I actually, like, before I knew that I was pregnant, I spent like 3 days like hectically vomiting. I was so ill. And that in itself, like, I'm guessing it was related because, yeah, no one else in my household got sick. And we all ate the same things. We all were around each other. No one was sick, but I, for some reason, just was like really ill. And then literally like a day or 2 after I stopped throwing up, I got my positive, but then 5 days later I started to bleed. So I'm assuming that those like moments of sickness were related to pregnancy, but I'm not actually quite sure. But with this pregnancy, I was not sick the first week that I knew. It only kind of hit me the second week, which I think I was around like 5 weeks or 6 weeks, and it was pretty bad, but not bad to the point where I threw up. I did not throw up one time in this pregnancy, which I'm really thankful for. I think the Lord is on my side. He knew that I just kind of needed kind of some peace and some space when it came to that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I definitely felt sick all the time. And it would vary in like severity of how sick I felt, but mainly it was just, yeah, like extreme nausea where I would have to lay down or I felt like I was going to pass out. So that was like a big deal. Now when it came to breasts, and the pain and size and all that kind of stuff, and all 3, they were pretty much the same. It's just in this pregnancy, I've gotten to experience the changes and shifts in the hormones and everything that affects up here for much longer than I did with the others. So I guess they were the same in the span that I was pregnant for the first 2. So yeah, compared to that, it was the same. But again, like, it's hard to compare because with my miscarriages, I had first trimester miscarriages, where right now I'm like getting closer and closer to the 3rd trimester. So everything is really different. So you can't really compare, but yeah, it was different. I will say that. Okay, so now we're going on to like the more exciting, happy questions. So this first question is, do you have a name for your baby yet? So yes, we do. I think we picked a name like even before we knew it was a girl, like for sure. But to be quite honest, like I knew it was a girl for the longest time. And when I was younger, I had this like dream from the Lord saying that I would have a girl. And I've even had like other people give me prophetic words saying the same thing. So I knew deep down in my heart it was a girl. And in that dream that I mentioned, I felt Holy Spirit give me a name. And so I've always like held on to that name. And so when I got married to my husband, I was like, you know, when we have kids, like I really would love to name our child this, because I feel like God was telling me, you know, about her and this should be her name. So we've had the first name forever, basically. But we had to pick a second name, and that it came really fairly like easily to us. Jaden actually suggested it, and I think it's a beautiful name. I love it, and I wish I could share it, but we're actually keeping it a secret until birth. But you guys can leave a comment down below what you think it is. But I can't give you any hints, otherwise Jaden will kill me. So yeah, but we have a name and we talk to her all the time and use her name. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to actually finally meet her in a couple months and then like see that name on a face. I think that would be really cool. Were you scared to be a mother, or were you totally excited? Okay, so I always joke about the fact that like kids growing up, when they get asked what they want to be like when they grow up, they say a doctor, a firefighter, that kind of stuff. And like I have always been like, I want to be a mom. Like that is what I want. And it's funny because I remember being like a really young teenager and people being like, you know, like you can be a mom, but like that's not really a real job. Like what do you really want to be? And I always was like, yes, it's a real job. Like obviously you don't have kids. Like I mean, I don't have kids, but I come from a big family, and I know that kids are a lot of work. So it is a real job. But no, I've like always dreamt of being a mom and having my own kids. So even though I was really nervous when I found out I was pregnant, it was something that I had been literally crying out to God for a while. And so I was like so blown away, so happy. So yeah, and like even as the time goes on, I feel so excited. When is your due date? So my due date is October 17th, 2020. And I just have a feeling that I'm gonna go into labor earlier than that. But like in a sense, I hope not, because like 2 or 3 weeks before her due date is my husband's birthday, and we're having this big event happening that week too. And so I'm kind of hoping that I don't go into labor during that event, because not only do I not want to miss it, but like that's just like not the best time. But yeah, I really feel like I might not make it to 40 weeks. I think I'm gonna make it to like 38, 39, which is still really close to my due date, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know, call it a gut feeling. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I think. But yeah, but her due date is October 17th. Now this last question says, can you talk about your pregnancy and how it has gone so far? Okay, so I keep saying okay. Why do I keep doing that? I don't know. But yeah, so I've already kind of taken you through the beginnings of this pregnancy. But now I'll like bring it back to like first trimester versus second trimester, because that kind of ties into this question, and I was going to talk about it anyway. So like I mentioned, the first trimester was pretty rough, and honestly I spent that entire time really praying, really worrying, and trying not to worry, because I know that's like the opposite of having faith and trust. But honestly it was really hard. I had a retroverted uterus, meaning that my uterus tilted backwards instead of forwards. And so when the baby started to get bigger, and my uterus started to get bigger, it had no option but to flip forward, which is what needs to happen. So I'm thankful that it did. but that caused excruciating pain for like a whole week. I ended up in the ER. So this whole time I was like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is happening? And there were just many instances where I thought like, you know, I'm gonna lose this pregnancy too because I don't feel good, you know, and you're apparently supposed to feel so great during pregnancy, which I've come to find out is not the truth. But yeah, like everyone says that in the second trimester, like things get better. And I will agree with that. That is so true. But honestly, I feel like every trimester has its pros and cons. So now in the second trimester, I'm not sick anymore. I felt like I got a lot more energy back. But people said that I would sleep better, I guess, when I got to the second trimester, and that has been like far from the truth. If anything, my body is working overtime and stretching constantly, that I'm always in pain in my abdomen. Like I can always feel her like pressing into one side or another, and like that can be really difficult. But it's also really exciting because obviously in the first trimester I didn't feel her at all, and I was actually really like lucky enough to feel her very early on, like the first week or so of this second trimester. I've like literally felt a kick, which is crazy. And I remember like calling my sister and being like, is that how it feels? Like, I don't know, I've never had a human inside of me kick, so I have no idea how this feels. But yeah, I would say probably around like 15 or 16 weeks I felt the first flutter. And I hate using that word because it doesn't, like, I don't know, flutter just doesn't seem like the right word to describe it. It felt like popping, but popping in a sense that like felt like a lot of pressure. Like, I know that when you have like digestive issues and your stomach gets all a little like bubbly and poppy, and it's like, oh, you know, like it's kind of like that, but it's not. It's like this stronger sensation. So that's kind of how I would describe it. But yeah, so I've been feeling her since around like 16 weeks, I would say. And now I'm 22 and a half weeks, and she kicks and moves a ton. So that's also kind of really cool. It's like the difference between not feeling her and feeling her. But yeah, if you guys had seen my last video, you would know that I had to go to a specialist and get an echocardiogram done, because at my anatomy scan at 18 and a half weeks, they found a spot on her heart. And honestly, I guess any normal person would be concerned about that. But again, it was like God just gave me this overwhelming peace where I felt no worry. I felt no fear. I was actually so confident. I was like, oh, like I know this is gonna be no issue to her. But yeah, she has, I believe it's EIF, and I forget what it stands for, to be honest. But basically she has a soft spot on her heart where it's just soft tissue, and nobody really knows why that happens. They kind of consider it as just another variation of the heart, but it's, you know, potentially from a lot of calcium in that spot. So I don't know how that scientifically works, but she definitely has some soft tissue on her heart. And yeah, that was scary, I guess, to experience, but even that has brought me a lot closer to God and a lot more confident in my pregnancy, which is so strange to say. But you know, like I feel her every day, and I know she's strong, and I know that this condition won't really affect her in any way where her health would be compromised. So I like to just say that my baby's got a soft heart, and I say she got it from her daddy, so that's what I like to say. And if, you know, if anything, it's caused me to like really press on the Lord and be like, you know, wow, like even even when something could seem wrong, you make a way where nothing could be harmful. And so I'm really thankful for that. I'm thankful that she has continued to grow strong and on point and on track. So I'm really like happy about that. And I couldn't have wished for a better pregnancy. Okay, that is all for this video. I know it's very long, but I so appreciate you guys watching my videos and liking them and commenting. And if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe down below. I want to be posting a video every week. Now before, I don't know if I could have stuck to that, but Jaden and I have actually moved into our own apartment. Thank the Lord. I'll post another video about that, but basically for 8 long months since we moved from Florida to California, we have just been in such a tight spot where a really weird, unconventional situation happened which prevented me from renting any property. So thankfully the Lord literally sorted that out. It was a miracle, and now we are in our own home. But for 8 long months, I was in my dad's house with like 7 other people, and my dad works from home. And yeah, it was very hard to even think about taking out the camera, vlogging, or even doing a sit-down video. It just, yeah. So I wish I actually had vlogged a lot more of my pregnancy from early on, but hey, better late than never. So here I am, my very own house. And so I will be posting a video every week. It's gonna start with 1 video a week, and hopefully I can get to 2. So yeah, so thank you guys so much for your love and support, and I hope you have a great day.